Yes.
Recording is on.
I was
The-
waiting for this announcement
and the
first.
journey started.
So here we are. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so happy that we have some new people here. Mia, Tess, Charlotte, Laura, I know that you were the first one. I'm so happy that you are joining us again. Oh, Sefi, great to see you.
Great to see you. Hey, everybody. Nice to be here.
Hi. So I'm so happy, guys. And today's topic is, I think, quite actually came out during the conversation with Gary on his chat, where I started to comment that sometimes I just sense if something that I'm reading, it can be something positive, or rather I have some warning there telling me that to be careful with particular information. And I referred to this as my inner compass, or we could say also like a connection with our higher self, that it's telling us something like that. This is something that I can engage with, or maybe not, or I should follow this information, or maybe it's a fake information, etc. So I would maybe start from my definition of this inner compass. For me, it's something, what I see at least, that when someone is in alignment with the thoughts, what they say and what they do, we can feel it. It can sometimes, I cannot explain it better. I feel it. Yeah, they say the same thing as they do. We cannot really access what they are thinking of, and we shouldn't, because this is taking over someone's consciousness. So we don't do it. However, we can feel how the energy comes from the person. It's a little bit trickier when it comes to some information, to some content that we get. However, I'm trying to think of the emotions that it gives me, or it wants me to feel when I'm reading it, for instance. And a lot of information that is coming there, it's rather triggering some negative emotions in us. And the lowest ones are like shame, guilt, anger, and just to name a few. I think we should, I could also drop you the this beautiful graph of emotions, like which are the lowest ones, and then which one are the higher ones. Unfortunately, what I see in the media, not too many of either projects or information itself, it's triggering us towards some positive emotions. And I'm also aware that many people who are writing some content, sometimes they are not aware that when they are creating, they are triggering negative emotions in others. I mean, we are kind of programmed this way, that for sure when there is something emotional, then it will trigger others. So we are just following it. So I'm also considering always if the person is doing something consciously or unconsciously. And I would love to see more of the content that is actually triggering positive emotions, or the actions also towards something positive. And this is like my maybe introduction to the topic. And I would love to hear also from you guys if you feel like you have this inner compass, or how you would define it, and how you find if something, I don't know, resonates with you. Yeah, we also use it. Does it resonate with me or not? And then based on it, we decide, yeah? Anyone that would like?
Aga, I will jump in. Oh, sorry, Charlotte. I saw your hand.
You go, it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think you said something very significant. I think there's a little bit of a design in terms of circulating narratives that are somewhat demoralizing and whatnot. But I've noticed something, I don't know if anyone else can relate, that sometimes these narratives the way that I process them personally is that, you know, I see through them more than I was able to, let's say, you know, in the past. And I feel like more and more people are getting to a place where they can discern, in a way, what they're reading, what they're absorbing, and they can put a filter and say, you know, I believe this, I don't, or this resonates as true or not, or, you know, this is something that aligns with my vision of reality or not. And I think, in a way, it could be used as an exercise for us to grow out of what is given to us and just accept it for what it is. So in a way, it's stimulating some critical conscious thinking and processing. And so, yeah, this just came to mind and wanted to share. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think you touched also like important topic where we gather some knowledge and some more perspectives to afterwards be critical simply about the information that comes. Thank you so much for sharing it. Charlotte, you wanted to say
Hi.
something? Hi.
Yeah, I was going to say that for me, when it comes to like listening to your instinct and your intuition, it's very much when you can kind of get rid of all the noise around you and actually have time to focus. So when I'm really busy and I'm doing a million different things, I lose touch of my intuition. But when I actually stop everything and really just have the time on my own at some points in the day to like focus on myself, then the rest of the day is kind of, sorry, there's a lot of background noise with my kids. The rest of the day I'm able to really tune in to my intuition.
I think I really like what you said, Charlotte, because this is exactly what I've been thinking about lately, that we live now in a world that is trying to get to be faster and faster, and maybe at some point for us it will be maybe easier to kind of get into this state. Maybe it will change, but at least for now I think that many things, like for at least in my life, and I'm a person that is pretty much flexible, and I like when things are happening in my life, even for myself, I think that the things are happening a bit too fast. And I think that some people, I don't want to say who, but you know, somebody might take an advantage, and I think this is pretty much beneficial for them, that we live faster and faster, because when we live in this like exactly like this kind of hostile way, where, for example, even instead of taking a walk, I need to take a car because I might be late, I don't know, 10 minutes. We don't have even time to just stand in the present. And I think in the present, our inner compass is the most, like, is the loudest, you know, is the wisest. And in this like really fast-paced life, like basically this inner compass needs to go somewhere else, and it needs to go elsewhere, because as you're saying, like we can listen to it in the best way when we can just stand beyond our own, which I think now, especially if you live in a big city, can be really challenging for people.
I think that's very important to what you are girls saying. Like there's a lot of information also coming, and we don't have time to really analyze. And I think, I think during the process of experimenting with it and practicing more, when I watch some news, I watch it with some neutrality more. And if I watch, I mean, I'm not watching the TV news for sure. Just like when this content is coming from all different places, I'm able to keep more neutral position and more analytical. But I'm not sure like how you guys feel about it. It's like the 0 point cold and then analyzing.
Like I feel that when the subject itself raised, right, like inner compass, I feel that there are sort of like two planes of existence for this concept. The first one is the subconscious one, which is like you need to do it consciously because probably from your life it's been sort of like determined from the environment itself. So if you are not coming consciously in understanding how do you understand what is the like north for you, right? Because a lot of the time it's like good and bad, but like good and bad are just subjective thing for us, right? Like something that is good for me can be bad for someone else. So it's not really good or bad, So for example, for me it's growth. I feel that the thing that helped me, while it's not taking from the environment, right? So it's when I'm saying environment, it's sort of like the manifestation of consciousness within my bubble. So anything that is being manifested from my consciousness, like people, places that I'm arriving, like all of those things, this is my environment from my perspective. And anything that help me grow while it's not taking resources from the environment, for me it's the north side, right? And I sort of like a couple of years ago, when I figured this out, I started programming my subconscious mind. So when we are living in a space where there is endless amount of noise, right, information, and we cannot really control if it goes into the subconscious mind, because it will go there, right? We stand in an environment, we have all of this noise, we walk the street, we drive a car, we do anything that we do, we are bound to get information from the environment. And it will go to the subconscious mind, and it's a plane of existence, and it will go there and it will be analyzed by the subconscious mind. And if the subconscious mind itself is not being programmed to be able to gain this information and understand if it helps you towards growth or not, and if it is, then move it to my conscious mind, like show it to me, right? It's like I can open YouTube and there is 8 different thumbnails on my screen, and why should I watch this one and not this one? Like, why should my brain and sort of like my subconscious mind will move my eyes towards the one on the right and not the one on the left? And it will be based on the frames that I have programmed within my subconscious mind. And then the second layer is the conscious mind, right? Because it's already there. And then from this perspective, I can decide like, okay, if I am able, and I think that no matter what happened outside, and it's probably the hardest thing to do, right? Being conscious and mindful to the present moment, no matter what happened. But if you can do it and you can tell yourself like, okay, at this moment, my eyes move towards this YouTube video, but do I want to consume this information now? Or do I want to do something else? Maybe just because I went into YouTube doesn't mean that I need to consume this piece of information. So I feel that it's like it's happening on both of those planes: the subconscious mind by like programming, and the conscious mind by being mindful.
Oh, I'm happy that you are touching also programming here. I also love this topic. But Tushar, go ahead.
Yeah, hi everybody. So, very beautifully talked about conscious and the subconscious, and like we human beings, we act consciously, but we are governed by us by our unconscious mind. And like as if you go with the scientific notification, like scientific connotation, is like we have 8 to 10% of our conscious mind from which we operate, and almost like 88 to 90% is the unconscious mind. No, we definitely live from conscious mind, but the decisions that we take are definitely from the subconscious, the innate programming that we are having. And if we go with the permutation, the subconscious mind is like 6,000 times stronger than the conscious. And like the question, like the topic here was about the inner compass. First, we have to understand what exactly that inner compass we are talking about. It's like we are born with an innate system that has a sense of propagatory, that can show us the way. So I like to go, more into bit of a core spiritual aspects. Is like when we are born, like some school of thought says that before a soul is born on this planet, the entire picture of what exactly the person has to do is clear to the soul, right? It's as simple as when we were kids, will go to a toy shop and we buy the puzzle. And what we do when we buy the puzzle, first thing we come home, what we'll do as a kids, it was all set in that framework. It was totally set. Same as to the soul before it incarnated to the planet. What as a kids will do is will break all those puzzle pieces and throw them here and there so that we can join them again together. Right? That was the objective of that game. And we used to do that. Now the thing is, in that puzzle game, we definitely have the map, which piece to place where. But when we come here, we forget which piece to place where, and then we kind of stroll around, like thinking, I don't know, not know this and not know that. A decision that we take definitely comes, if you would have journalized, it comes from a standpoint of void. It's some empty space from which we choose something, like he said about the YouTube video, something that governs us, something. We make one choice or the two. And with this, like, there's the conscious mind, there's an unconscious mind. Similarly, there is a collective consciousness and a collective unconsciousness. And the entire theme of getting the inner compass is to find our way, which feels best to live a blissful and peaceful and joy and happy life. So I'll come on it later. Anybody else want to talk and say?
I'd love to add to that actually, because I found that throughout my life, I've always been very interested in spirituality and like finding my path, like right back from when I was about 16, watched The Secret, and I was led to that. And then I was implementing like positive mindset manifestation from a young age. And then there's been times where I've kind of been drawn away from that path and worked in different environments have taken me away from what I'm set to do. And then when I'm in a really bad situation, I like forced out of it, and then end up meeting people who then guide me back like onto the right path. And then when I'm on the right path, all the doors open when I'm focused on that path, and I meet more people who can help me, who I can help, and everything then becomes aligned. And I feel like very much right now, like having invested myself in a life coach who then introduced me to someone else who's helping me with opening up like the spiritual side of myself. I've then met this group of people, and like everything seems aligned. So even though if you're going off track every so often, something will force you back on track to like your sole purpose for being here.
Yeah, beautifully said. I feel the same. But Shibani, you wanted to add something? Hello, I'm so happy you're
Hi,
here.
hi, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah, okay, okay. I was just trying to like figure out the controls. Hi everyone. So, Tushar said something about the void, and I so agree with that because I think that um there's like a whole untapped sort of wordlessness which is there beneath every word we use, and inner compass is actually not consisting of words. I don't know how to put it. It's like it has nothing to do with like language at all, because like the very nature of language is to like split everything into subject object. So what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to like accessing the void, or some sort of an inner intelligence to like show you what your inner compass is, solitude actually helps a lot. I've seen that. And we even have this practice in India called Vipassana, but a lot of people sort of see it as something that is separate from everyday life. So, for example, I know people who like go for Vipassana classes, right? But in case like I'm by myself and I'm not speaking for hours, they'll be like, "Why are you so silent all day?" And I'll be like, "That's because, I mean, they tell you to be silent for a reason. It sort of like calms down the inner chatter." So, I think solitude is something that, again, maybe it's difficult for extroverts and maybe easier for introverts, but like just not talking for long periods of time, or what we call staying in the flow state, maybe it's that. I think that sort of like clears up the layer over the inner compass, whatever that is. I hope I made sense.
Yeah, definitely. It's like when the outside chatter is silent, the inside, like what it is, that compass, then we connect with it. If you, I don't know how many of you guys practice pranayama or meditation, you would have noted, like, after a few reps you feel a sense of belongingness within yourself. And if you go deeper, much deeper, and you practice it daily, then definitely it's like you touch something inside you, like you do it for 15 minutes, and then the entire day you're perfect, bang on with every decision, you are totally in harmony. Even the life challenges you're able to take care of. And that's it. Jackie, please.
Hello, happy Monday, everyone. Just piggybacking on what Shabani and Tushar both said, like I find in myself, I'm actually a very extroverted person. And like many of us here, you know, I'm addicted to knowing things. I want to know this, I want to know that, I want to research. And I find even for myself, especially in my adult life, it's super important to like defrag my brain, detox my mind. I think increasingly something I'd love to see Web3 really start to tackle is actually rewarding people for having their screens off. Rewarding people from being away from their devices would be actually a nice way. But like, yeah, and I'm a pretty spiritual, and even I guess I don't know that I would say I was a religious person, but I do participate in a religious community because I like the community of people. But even from that, I have to, you know, separate the noise. And what I love that Shabani said is like, as soon as we start putting words to things, like that is the beginning of separation. That is when we start, you know, we really are leaving this void and starting to be very human in that capacity. So I say this every time we're on here, but please meditate, everyone. Make this a practice. It's the best thing you can do for yourself. And I'm done. Thanks.
Yeah, Shivani, please.
Oh, I'll make it quick. And also another thing about like the solitude bit. There's a saying, I don't know who it's by, maybe it's Blaise Pascal, I'm not sure, but the saying goes that, all of man's problems, they sort of stem from us not being able to sit still in one place for 20 minutes. And I think the current culture we live in encourages that. I mean, to always keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. And also the part about rewarding people to stay off screens. I mean, I in part think that that'll solve a lot of things because, for example, I'm in the NFT space, right? And artists are like nervous. We're always anxious when we're not making sales. But at the same time, I mean, I've seen that people just can't stop being online. And we know that looking at other people making sales all the time, it just gets to us after a while, because that's how the human mind is programmed. After a while it just gets to you. So I'm like, shut off your phone and get offline, shut off your phone and get offline. But it's looked at some, as if it's some superhuman thing, and we've really become very, very addicted to like like the constant stimulation. That's again where solitude comes in, I guess. It's all interconnected, I guess.
The thing is,
Turn off my
I'll cater to that point. Like we as generation, we are the first people. Like it was not with our parents. We are the first generation who's bombarded with this much of information randomly, constantly. Like when the entire world sits on our phone and one notification after the other, we are part of many social groups, many spiritual groups, or many friends groups, school friends, college friends. Then we are part of our own office groups. Then the LinkedIn groups. Like it's too much. Like someone in 90s or 80s, if you like, I don't know in other countries, like if here where I'm in India, in 90s or 80s, you have to get an information about one small thing, you would ask 10 people and they would have no idea about it. Then you go to some other place, search it in some books and libraries. It was too hard for, then you get an information and it was too hard to get. Now, when reaching to that information was hard, the subconscious definitely made a point like working on that would definitely be that hard. You have to work on that level. Now, what has changed? You want anything with Google, within less than 1 minute, it's in your hands, it's in front of you. Now, the subconscious gets an idea. Okay, it took 1 minute to access it. Maybe it should be as easy to get it. Rather, just knowing that information and walking on the path is totally different things. We're not talking about the blockchain or the Web3 project, for example. Take meditation only. You can download any meditations right now. It will come, but practicing those meditations would be a different task as compared to the information it has reached. So when this so much information is bombarded to us, definitely this thing to be aligned with ourselves and be away from all these things hold much value in present time and to us, if we really want to connect with our inner compass, inner happiness, and live a better life. Thank you.
Maybe I should add like something at this point.
Sure.
So the whole thing about like having solitude like really resonates with me. I'm like just like leaving out of my car. In fact, like this is kind of like how my neighborhood looks like right now. And even before like this session, I just like finished my 1 hour like vipassana meditation. So yeah, Shibana, I totally like resonate with that. So it's like the whole like notion of like inner compass like really is like what's like been discussed like really resonates, right? In terms of like sometimes your gut feeling. There's like science research that says that your brain is like literally like 3 layers, and the conscious part of your brain is like where, which is like the prefrontal cortex, is where the language sits, logic sits. But the most like developed and like ancient part of your brain, the brainstem, which is like the reptilian portion, has zero language in it. That's why it's like when you say, "Hey, the consciousness, there's the subconscious, there's no language." It's because of that. And then like personally, when I kind of like have to do some decisions, sometimes a lot of like the important ones are really that's like really like based on gut feeling, and like when you go along those and like the analytical indicators like that I use a lot when I make these important decisions, they're all pointing in the other direction. So in that sense, I'm like totally going in like all the logic and just kind of going counter logic. Especially like when it comes to making large placements of like trades. For example, it's like sometimes like okay, all the news, everyone like on Twitter and stuff like that is like pointing like okay, it's bullish, but like after you kind of like come to your own conclusion, it's bearish. And then you'd be like sitting there, like seeing all these negative signals that like contrary to your judgment, and you're still persisting and holding on to that position. And meanwhile, you're bleeding large sums of cash until like the whole like set of data comes around and the market realizes it's wrong, right? I guess that's like it really demands like a lot of discipline. Yeah.
What I've found actually really helps me is like not thinking too much. So I actually entered the void in my own way by quitting all my clients, so dropping everything to start again in the Web3 space. So I had time to focus on myself and to look for, well, not even look for projects that were aligned with what I wanted to do. I actually just let them come to me. And anything that came to me, I wouldn't push too hard for it, because the way I think now is if it's meant to be, it won't pass me by. So if something's supposed to happen, it might take time to happen, but if it's meant to be, it will. So as long as I've got something that I'm working on, like I had that sense of safety. For a while I didn't have anything. For about a month I didn't, but I've got something that I'm working on, and then anything else that comes, I don't push it. If I'm having like a chat with a company about a project and they're really keen, and then I follow up and then I don't hear back, then that's fine. I'll just leave it. It's not meant to be. Whereas if the things that are meant to be, they're pushing for it more. So yeah, what I've really found helps is not thinking too much and worrying about what's going to happen, and just having that gut feeling that it's meant to happen, it's right, it will happen. It might take a month, it might take 2 months, but just not worry about it, and just know that yeah, everything that's meant to be will happen, and it won't pass you by if it's meant to. So yeah, and also when I'm writing as well, I don't try and think too much. As I write a lot of content, I just sort of let it flow, and then kind of edit it after a bit, but I'm not kind of thinking about every sentence and every word that I'm writing. I just write. And that's the best content that I've written, has been when I've literally written something in about 10 minutes, but I've done the research before, and then I just write what I'm thinking and put it out, and that's been the content that's got the most engagement.
Yeah,
I'm a fan myself of this, like writing from the heart, content from the heart. Just let it flow.
And actually it likes it come from the heart. When it comes from the heart, then it's like you also feel like good. And when you force yourself to write, then it's like, it's like too mechanical. Marta, please go on.
Yeah, so like for me also, the thing that came to my mind, because now I believe that we're talking about the perspective that we have right now, how we are more in line with our inner compass. But what has been in my mind since more or less like 15 minutes already is that I think it's already important to start teaching children how to already discover their inner compass, because now I am, since like very recently, I am on a path that I'm just developing completely on my own. Whereas like, for example, most of my life it was more like already basically, since was able to talk, there was already like a certain idea of what life I was going to have. And because I was really a very caring child and I always like to do things right, I was just, following that path, because like, if a kid trusts a parent, then it's just going to follow what the parent tells them, right? And I have realized that for many, many years, I have suppressed this inner compass in myself very, very deeply. And right now, I'm just rediscovering it after, I don't know, like, again, like 20 years, 15 years. It's like such a long time, of ignoring this, like, one part of yourself. So, what I'm thinking about, and like, like many people here are already parents, that I believe that, and I think that some of you also follow that already teaching kids to, and like helping them respect their inner compass is also going to be something that is going to help us have a world of just, happier people. Simply speaking, this is how I'm also perceiving that. I want to hear what you think about that.
I love that, Marta. I think it's so true. And I'm actually thinking about that a lot at the moment with my own kids, because one of them's 5, and when I have to think about her moving school in a few years, and I was like, how can I make that decision? Like, I need to give her, okay, she's really young, but let her feel, like, see the environment, feel it, like what suits her, what would she like, and be guided by obviously what I think would be best for her, but then have an element of her input as well. And I think by us being conscious parents, the only way, like, there's no other way of being able to parent is like by helping them with their inner compass, because we're doing it ourselves. So I love that, and I think it's really important.
Yeah, talking to children and discussing stuff, also teaching them, and then making them take their own decisions. Laura, please go ahead.
Yes, I related so much to what Martha said. I think most of us, or at least some of us, went through childhood and youth where we were just told what to do, and we had certain parameters and standards that we were supposed to meet, and we eagerly did that because I think it's in our nature to, comply and do well and excel. But sometimes we disregard some things that, are important to us, and there maybe some values, or maybe there are some topics or disciplines that we would like to pursue. And I think we're lucky that maybe we are coming to realize that, and we can pursue that. And it takes a little bit of undoing. To Marta's point, I feel like there's a little bit of just unlayering certain things, and that's where the work happens. But it's also so interesting, and I think a great way to simulate ourselves to perhaps reach our next phase, stage of let's call it evolution, personal evolution. So, and I think this group does it together also during these meetings. So
I can I can also add to that, like, for example, why I okay, I will maybe bring this point later. I will bring up something more important now. For example, and I think also maybe a couple of people can also share their ideas here, is that, for example, when there are alternative schools, I read an article about the Montessori school, that when there were kids that were like having already like exams with kids from regular schools that were just going with the system, they were, regardless of the age, they were basically performing better. But what is different with the Montessori schooling is that you're, for example, if you're 5 years old but you need like 1.5 year to do something instead of 1 year, that's completely fine. But for example, if you overcome something in half year, that's also perfectly fine. And a kid already picks what they find interesting. It's not like you go to school and now you have this and this and this subject, and I don't know, in 2 weeks you have to perfectly know how to like do like this one chapter in mathematics or something like this. So I also like, it was also proven that schools that kind of already promote this intuitive learning show that kids are way happier in life and they're already performing way better without also being forced to perform better, which I also think kind of relates here. I think, I don't know, I was curious what you, Jackie, would think about it, because I know you're also like in education. So I was also curious to think about other alternative schools that also kind of follow the inner compass. I would love to also hear, because I only know about Montessori, and I think you will know way more examples and have a better overview.
There's one here in the States. It's called I believe it's Sudbury School, but it was super revolutionary at the time. I think it was in the late 70s or 80s that it came out. But basically, it's a school where the children go in. It's like a campus. And if a kid wants to learn something, they actually have to ask a teacher, like, I would like to learn math, or I would like to learn this topic. And what was really interesting, they found that kids that came from traditional schools and like followed all the rules or whatever, they had a really hard time on these campuses. They didn't know how to ask for things they needed or wanted because they were so used to just being told what to do and following a schedule, following a regimen. The kids that were really rebellious excelled really well in this type of environment because they were very used to, like, I want that, I'm going to do this, so I think, Marta, you're hitting on some really important topics that I had to come to terms with as an adult. I think a lot of us, we realized, like, okay, school was sort of an experiment to see if we can obey the bells and go from room to room and stand in line and just basically take orders. So I think what's going to be interesting as we move forward, there's also Waldorf education here in the States. I don't know if that is international, but Waldorf, it's very expensive, so it's very exclusive. But they pay attention to, I don't know if they say a creator or if it's just, the universe or what it is, but basically, there is a higher power that exists and we do this for a collective and that kind of stuff. But I think what's really going to be interesting moving forward is collectively, if we decide that we want kids to be empowered, individuals to be empowered, because I think what we're all seeing now too, with this transparency layer sort of presented to us, we're finding out a lot of people say they want things, but when it comes down to actually doing them or putting it into action, they won't follow through. They'll actually, they actually wanted the old thing. So I think that's really what the next evolution is going to be, is like, do we actually want 8 billion empowered, individualized people, or what type of chaos ensues from that? Or, what's the next experiment,
Oh, thank you so much. It actually brings me to that poll. I don't know if you remember, guys, just before educational topic that we had, and what's important in this new type of education. That this the self-awareness was there, this critical thinking, following passion. So I think it's all kind of related to also finding this inner compass and going for it. But please, Salim, you. Yeah,
hey
go
guys,
ahead.
how's it going? So I read a post like a few days ago, not like a few days, like a few hours ago. It said that people don't always do what they want. It's like they do things just to prove people wrong. So it's like, let's just say that I've been working in a Dubai-based company, and it was gruesome. It was just grueling. So at a point, I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm gonna start, like my own company." But then I was like, I didn't want to start a company. I was doing it despite, like my old boss. So then I was like cultivating my own path, like with Web3, with LinkedIn, with stuff like that. And I was doing, like business marketing stuff on the side. And it's awesome. So, it's like when we, when we know what we really want, not just what we want to do to prove people wrong, it's, like it's gonna be awesome. Like I'm here with you because nobody has compelled me to do it. I'm here because I love talking to you guys. And I think a lot of people, a lot of children should do that more. Like it's I think it's all about control.
I don't hear you, Salim. I don't know what about you guys. I think the connection is not good, so good now. It's good to check
I
it
can't hear
here
him.
on Brave Talk. We see where the
Yeah,
connection is.
I'll like to add what previously with Jackie said, like regarding children. So the moment we try to control children, you tell them do this, do that, and we become the control freaks. You know, taking account of each and every move that they are having.
Because someone is controlling us, so we
Yeah.
transcend it on someone else, which are
The moment
children.
we do that, we are disconnecting the child with his or own innate inner compass. And we keep on doing it till the 18, 20 years. And, and by that time, the person has lost a complete control within the self. Then the person wants to be told. The subconscious has innate programming, which says, okay, tell me what to do next. Now, he might not take that like the direct instructions from the parents, but those instructions can be from the boss, from the society, from the news, from web media, whatever is coming in. So again, hey, hi, hello,
Hi.
so cute. So like if we have to do a good, say good for the children, we should stop like directing them. Like, please, Jackie, go on.
Yeah, I wanted to add too, like in that Sudbury school, I left a link there, but I remember one of the coolest things I learned was each grade has their own council. So, like in the first grade, like let's say one kid bit another kid, all the first graders would meet up and like decide what to do about this situation. And I think that just speaks to your point, Tushar, that like often we don't give kids enough credit for, how, and what's so interesting too is kids are more connected to this inner
Yeah.
compass than we are. So the fact that we think we need to teach them anything instead of learning from watching them. And then one last point, there's a show on Netflix right now that's called Old Enough. And I guess it's like a Japanese reality show that started in 2008. But they send kids on errands, and there's like cameramen that are kind of like dressed up so the kids don't know cameras are following them. But they had a kid that was as young as 2 years, 9 months old. I think he traveled a half a mile to go pick some stuff up at the store for his mom and then come back home. And he did the whole, he couldn't even barely make sentences, but he knew the three things to get and how to get home. And yeah, it's just, yeah, I'll just stop there. But
I actually just watched a workshop on conscious parenting the other day, and it literally was saying like in order to be a conscious parent, you have to like fix yourself and learn from the child. Like everything that happens, like any like battle that you come like you're clashing over something, like actually take a step back and what can they teach you from that situation, and everything that you tell your child off for or you're not happy with actually comes down to your personal issue or insecurity or fear. And once you fix that and learn from the child, then the parenting is so much easier.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
I'm so happy you are bringing it, because I was telling everyone, I think that it was such a blessing to have a child at that part of my life, and I was just watching her and learning so much. All the time, like when she was falling and getting up, okay, I try again and again and again. Oh, now I can run. And it's like so many things to learn from a child, from observing just how they do things naturally and how they just go for it. I love it. And this courage, I don't want to destroy it in her. I
Just
would love
going
to
for
see
it.
her like she's, yeah, going
I
and
don't
trying things, different things. She's not afraid. Maybe this is not for me. I will try something else. I love it. And I would
And
love to
that's
see
the
her
inner
growing into
compass.
that.
Just be like,
Yeah.
without any layers. It's just that's why I think kids are a great inspiration.
yeah,
But
I got
Shivani
sentimental
wanted to
now a
say
bit,
something.
Same.
reminding me all this days, sleepless nights.
Aga has an emotional moment. So here I just dropped the link for all of you guys, and this is the kind of school that's happening in India, like the Isha Vidya. What these guys do? They you send your children there till eighth standard. They won't teach any of the modern knowledge to students. No, they will just let them play for initial few 2 3 years. Then they will teach them art, music, dance, painting, poetry, all the cultural activities. And when the child is like 8th standard, then 8th, 9th, 10th, in those 3 years, they will just cover the entire summary of from 1 to 10th in just 3 years. And that's like I went there, I met these children's, and they were far more like vibrant, they were far more intelligent as compared to any of the children you find out in the schools, in the modern schools. And they are totally, they know dance, they can, like I was so mesmerized to see them dancing for 7 8 hours. They did a culture program, and that was quite, and all those ancient traditional dances which are like very secluded in some areas, and the intelligence level is so much. You ask them what to do in life, they say, like I asked them, you don't you feel sad like other children, they know too much and you don't? The guy replied to me, I know dancing and music so much, I can make a living just by that only. I don't have to go for a 9 to 5 job. And this level of answer, no student of fifth class studying in a modern school can give. Like Shibani, you raised your hand. Please go ahead.
It again connects to what you said. And yeah, and what Aga said before this, there was a specific thing that you said, Aga. You said that, your daughter runs and she falls down and she just gets up and brushes it off and runs again. And I was like, I think that's because they don't know about the concept of failure. And once we get to know about the concept of failure, I think that's when we start messing up so much, because kids just don't know it. You see them, and it should be that way. I mean, they somehow learn to crawl, they somehow learn to sit up, they fall down so many times. I guess the education system, at least in most places, that's the place, or maybe the parents start it. Like, it's like once the critical voice is seeded in their heads, that's when the concept of failure and being a failure and being a whatever, a failure comes into play. And then that's the complete mess up. And like Tushar said, I'm sorry, like the 9 to 5 jobs. I mean, yeah, I myself was raised to like aspire to that. That was supposed to be like my highest calling, to like get
Yeah.
like the highest paying package and all of that. And it didn't matter what I worked at. And so I so resonate with that. And
Yeah.
I myself could never have imagined that I'd ever not do a 9 to 5. Like, it's just unimaginable. I guess that's how deep our conditioning goes. And maybe that's why it's so important we start as kids.
Yes, I guess we are from the same time when in India it was like, okay, if you become either a doctor or an engineer, or else you're good for nothing. So that was
Yeah.
the
I
that was
was
the
pushed into engineering.
yeah, same it goes. I tell you, at the age of 5, I told my mother I wanted to become a writer. I said I don't have much ambitions in life. I want to write beautiful books that will change life of people, that will give them happiness, that will give them bliss. And I just will teach in some lecture, some comes from college and come home, and then like in some foreign university, and then write books after. And my mother replied, don't tell your father. Like he will make you writer right now. How Indian, like we were so much. And then I was in that scenario, like, okay, you choose to become a doctor or a software engineer, or you're good for nothing. And then I became software engineer. Then I
Right.
was like, then I did MBA. Then I was
I'm
like
Me
very,
complete.
too. Oh my God, Tushar. I too did it. I think most Indians do that. We end up doing an engineering and MBA because we're pushed into it.
Pushed into it. And then I had this calling like, oh my God, I was to become writer, I was to become writer. And tell you what, my engineering, my MBA would have given me money. But when I wrote my first book, and it gave me fame like around the globe, it gave me blessings of all the people. It gave my heart so peace and contentment. It was beyond. So that is what that inner compass, that inner calling, when you go with it, it definitely gives you result beyond your imagination. And the moment you're stuck in those voices of they do this, do that, and the society 9 to 5 job, then no matter you're making a living, but definitely deep within you also know that you are not happy with it. Please
Have
carry on.
any of you guys like studied transactional analysis? The parent, the child, and the adult voices?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Done that.
Who's talking? Oh, I'm sorry.
Tushar.
Yeah, okay. I was like, yeah, I think that that's where the critical voice is seeded in, like by parent, not the literal parent, just society as a whole. And yeah, I forgot what I was trying to say. When I remember it, I'll speak again.
It also comes to my mind like there's no judgment. I see also the effects of the like this educational system here in Belgium, in France. People here are very scared of speaking other languages, even though they were taught at school. And they are afraid of making mistakes so much that it's blocking them from speaking
Yes.
anything. And then I'm showing them that look at me, I'm speaking French, even though my French is like IB.
Yeah.
Just
And
like Joe is speaking French in France.
yeah, I mean that's why they are not speaking, because they're afraid of judgment. They're afraid that the class was used to laugh at them when they were making mistakes. So that's why they're blocked. And only when I'm starting to speaking and they realize, of course, that I don't speak well French, and now I see that they're approaching me and speaking English and not so afraid anymore. But that was programmed into us.
And like again we have to deprogram, being a clinical hypnotherapist, when we take session we just tell people, okay, now forget whatever you have learned, like deprogram yourself. All of this meditation and total like reaching to self is totally about the deprogramming. We have to be the, even in succeeding in the corporate world, be it spiritual world, be it any world, we have to be like that same kid we were when we were learning how to walk. And no matter how much time we fell, how much time we crawled, that we didn't made that failure as a standpoint. Now what happens is we make it a reference point. Like while doing anything new, we refer back, our mind goes back to the point when we failed at something. And now it's just like you're driving a car by looking into a rear view mirror. Again we have to learn to be that child. Like no matter how much we fell, we just like have to walk, and we just walk. So that is the core of a sense returning back to 1 year old we have to do.
That's so ironic. I mean, when we are kids, we are told that you should grow up as soon as possible. And then now
Yeah.
that we are adults, we are like, oh my God, I want to go back to like, the same innocence we had as children when we
Yes.
weren't really bothered about the concept of failure and, what people would think and things like that.
I even thought about it that that's for reasons why we have children at certain age and like we have to observe again, learn from them what it is like to find some natural ways. For instance,
What happened in
my,
ninth?
my daughter, when she's falling, well,
Mm-hmm.
she either laughs, so it's like not a big deal, or if something hurts her, then she comes to me and she's showing where it hurts her. I'm kissing her, and then she's done. So it can, like, we can also reflect on it, like you have this person, it's coming. I mean, you can show that I need help now, or something hurts me. You have someone to
Yo,
cuddle you, and you
guys,
go back.
can you hear her? Because I can't. Did she get drugged?
Sorry.
Who?
Yeah, I can hear her.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's loud,
I
clear.
think maybe Salim can't hear you or something. Actually, I'm not sure who's talking.
You don't
So
hear me? No.
so when can you hear, guys? Now
Yep.
it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when this topic of success and failure is going on, I'll just tell you what I've written in my next part, like the book, the second part of it. And there's a chapter about success and failure. Though I don't tell what I have written, but definitely this is a very, good conversation going on. So I'll definitely share.
Watch out, there a little spoiler here.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Like, oh, it's so bad for me. Okay, it's good. It's recorded, so nobody can blog it up.
But I love spoilers because actually spoilers make me interested to actually read something. So for me,
Yeah.
you can spoil it because then I
Great.
will be even
So
more,
what?
motivated to read it fast.
Good, good, good. No, so success and failure. We have been too programmed to think about success in life, in anything that we do. We are programmed like that since childhood, since the society, and everybody is doing that. And we have taken that programming too innate, that we want it to happen. It has become an internal. What I have written is, don't even think of success while doing anything. Don't think of it, because the moment you think of success, succeeding at something, the thought of failure will definitely come to you. You can't stop that, and you will be totally, struggling between success and the failure, while your energy is wasting into that should go into the project, that should go into the task, whatever you're doing. So forget about success, forget about failure. Just focus in the here and the now and the thing that you're doing, be it spirituality, be it raising the kid, be it anything.
It also brings me the topic of expectations. You should do something just because you feel like and it comes from your heart without expectations,
Like
unconditionally. Just
that,
I'm
just
here and now and I'm doing, I know it's going the right direction, but
yeah.
if you put some outcome in your mind and then you are stressed if it's not going the direction you thought, but maybe there is another path there. So you're like closing yourself, limiting to just one path, one option. Well, there can be something else beautiful for you.
I was thinking about taking maybe it even one step further, because we think about success and failure, and I think that yeah, like now, for example, when we are, adult individuals, this concept works quite well. But then when I'm thinking about, again, a kid, because for me that's a pretty good reference for our conversation, is that I don't even like, I think that like the failure and success is not even there. I think that it's more even about feeling loved, and just feeling safe. Because, for example, we say that, okay, let's bring Magda again as the example here, that she falls, right, and then she just gets up and she laughs. But why she laughs? Because she knows, my like, also mom shows, the environment shows that it's, it's okay. She doesn't feel, for example, scared that mom may, for example, get angry or something like this. So even just to take this thing one step further, about even like giving ourselves this kind, like when we give ourselves this kind of unconditional love, we finally manage that, the self-love. And I think that this is when the inner compass is also becoming like, it's really receiving its true voice. And then, because we are not really scared about failure, we just know, okay, I'm choosing what's best for myself, so I'm choosing love for myself. So I think that the inner compass is very strongly related, again, to our ability of just showing ourselves this self-love, because maybe I will prioritize what my inner self is telling me first, instead of some adult that I want their acceptance, I want their approval. So I'm going to disregard my inner compass, and I'm going to listen what's according to them correct. So
Very,
this is
very
also what I wanted
said,
to
what
add here.
beautifully said. Like just before Jackie, I like to just say, like what Aga just said about like doing without expectation. Now that is the biggest lesson, like one of the biggest lessons from the Bhagavad Gita. Like that's a spiritual text, or like very, it's just like the epitome of wisdom. And that was when I read it for the very first time. Like you should do anything without expecting. Now, I was totally baffled. It didn't got my mind, because anything we are doing, we expect something out of it. But when I started practicing it and doing things of not expecting anything, I found a bigger power within myself to do those things. More connected I was to myself, and the things would yield a better result, because I was too unattached to it. I was totally attached to the process. I was totally focused on the project process and unattached to the results. So that is one thing we all can practice to, be aligned with our is inner compass. So over to you, Jackie, please.
It's a little off topic now, but I was just thinking, when I was younger, I was like a really happy kid for a little while, but around like 5 or 6, my both of my parents worked at the newspaper, so the news was really big, and so it was like on all the time. And like I even remember there was this time, this newscaster was interviewing this guy. A hurricane had come through, and he was outside, and he was in his underwear because it just happened, and he's outside his house. And I went to bed for years after that, like fully clothed, expecting like if there's an emergency in my house, I'm not getting caught outside in my underwear. Like, and and that's like I think when my anxiety as a like 5 or 6 year old actually started, and it was from, I totally believe it was from like exposure to like news. And I think what's really interesting now is we have kids that, forget even just your little local news that's affecting you, but there is something going on in every part of the world that's just terrible, horrible, and we feel all this responsibility and accountability to do something about it. And I hope we're going into a point where we do start to lean education in this way that, the best thing you could do for the world is to find your inner compass, be peaceful, be content, like have that positivity and neutrality, like emanating from you and just existing within you, because I worry about this generation, really falling into that just the responsibility of the world on you is just so much greater than anything even we grew up with.
Yes, true, true. And like what you said, even in the Indian scriptures, it is written like the best thing, the highest gift you can give to the society is self awareness, self enlightenment, reaching to that center of yourself, your inner compass, self realization. Because when you are realized within the self to your true potential, definitely people coming in contact to you would get benefit out of it. And the more there are people who thinks of the benefit of the society, the more you can do for it. And now what you just mentioned, like everything is going on in one or the different part of the world and the other, and we have that empathic nature, a sense of us feels helpless, right? That's what you feel, Jackie, at that time.
Yeah, it was helpless, but I think also too, just the fact that when we see kids now and that, what we just went through with the pandemic and everything, it's like you're watching even the adults around you and the parents around you are wigging out and freaking out. So I think it's even more critical that this generation, whether your parents self-heal or not, like you need to.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I feel like responsible for like the entire community of us to get healed with our generational traumas. Like we should be one pioneering that. We should cut that chain of the generational traumas rather than we are being half of our trauma is just what our parents were went through. They gave it to us because of being the controlling nature, and now the society all around it like this again. We have to teach children how to be much centered, much balanced. And I like to go but deep into this topic if you know okay, anything that we do, okay, thoughts, are they part of your inner world or the outer world? Right, definitely the
Outer.
inner world. Thoughts outer.
Yeah, I actually think they're outer. Like we've got a layer of like wordlessness inside the void, and
No, no,
that void is what watches the thought. So thought is actually outer.
no, no,
Actually,
I'm not talking about the chatter that the mind. I'm saying like the actions. Like one thing is action. Okay, you want to make a bridge. You want to make something tangible. Is that a part of inner world or the outer world? Okay, let's have a distinction between the physical and non-physical. Anything that is tangible is part of outer world. Like we can
okay,
measure it. We
then
can see.
thoughts are intangible. You're right. Thoughts are intangible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And something that we can't measure is a part of inner world, like non-physical, that can't be measured. So thoughts being a part of inner world, and anything that's any action, any result that we want is a part of outer world. So what bridges the gap? Right?
Emotion.
Emotions,
I think
actions. Like here it goes. As per, I don't know if you don't
Um, I'm
yeah,
sorry to
please.
like interrupt, but just one thing, okay? It's
Yeah,
just like, when we say emotion, I think that a lot of us might not know it's actually energy in motion. So it's
yeah.
emotion. And
Emotion and
when they
emotion.
say that, like, handling your emotional part is so important, it's important for that reason, in the sense it like motivates all of your deeper actions. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting, Tushar.
No, you're totally right, and you gave me now. Like I'll say further based on what you said. Like again, everybody should you have no obligation to buy what I'm saying, but like okay, that's my thought process, and how things like thoughts. What happens? How things are managed? Like thoughts lead to feelings, lead to emotions. Like you said, thoughts lead to feelings, lead to emotions. Till then, everything that is this is the part of our inner world. This is all intangible, right? Then when what happens? How it comes to the physical? Then thoughts lead to feelings, lead to emotions. They interact with the chakras, the energy vortex in our body. And that the feelings, that emotion have a certain reverberance on those chakras in our body. And then based on what we feel in any direction, then we start to take action against it. Somebody operating from fear and somebody operating from love would have total different cycles of these two. Now it all starts with this one particular thought, the way we think, then we feel it that way, then the emotions are that, and again, now the science has proven, like when we are stressed, the cortisol is produced in blood. Glucose, liver starts converting the glycogen into glucose and pumps it in our body and raise our blood sugar levels. How it's happening? If it's not happening now, the thoughts are controlling the physical, right? It can induce illness into us. So again, drilling down to the same aspect, to find that inner compass, we have to first get that control of those particular thoughts. We have to let them settle with the particular meditations or any other yogic practice, whatever we do, and that's where we find our base. Please
Tushar, actually, yeah, even disease. I just read that. Actually, I kind of disagree with the part that thoughts lead to emotions. I mean, I think that's an illusion. I think that emotion comes before the thought. And I read this book by Lisa Feldman. I'm not sure why you're grinning. I suggest you just have a look at the book. It's
No,
like
no, no,
based
why I'm
on.
grinning is like, okay, emotion is erupting. It's eruption, and both are almost residing in. It's having a
It's
very
something
thin
called
line. It's
affect. There
having
is
a very
something
thin
called
line.
affect. Emotion is an extension of affect. The affect always comes before the emotion. So,
Yeah.
affect is a milder type of emotion that is normalized, but we don't know it. So, you can say it's coming from the unconscious or whatever, but the affect leads to the action, and then we justify whatever we do in the present. We do it to justify the emotion we have.
I actually like to share something that's like very interesting that I observed when I was going through like a 10-day like silent meditation retreat, right? On the eighth day itself, like the whole mind was like so stable. I was literally able to observe every single impulse that was like coursing through the body. And like I think it's like totally relevant to like this particular conversation. It's less the
Mhm.
thought that actually drives everything. It's more like what's coming in through your senses, right? Once it comes through your senses, it's actually registered in the brain, like the impulse part of it. And then after that, like what I observe is like either like the dopamine or the adrenaline center was triggered off, and then like a whole bunch of thoughts like started like coming, and then from there you come the impulse. That was like my observation of how like the whole body was like working like during that period of time, and it was just totally fascinating. And then like my thoughts on thoughts, right? When I take a step back to think about all the thoughts that actually go through my head, my realization is that not a single one of them are unique to myself. In actual fact, they're literally just copied and pasted from the environment. What is really like unique to myself is essentially what I'm feeling and my impulse. Anything else is actually just all from the environment.
Yeah, true, true, true.
I think we can come even to like Bible of or any kind of spiritual teachings. Like first there was a thought, and
Yeah.
then other things started to form from
Yeah.
that thought. But I think since we are in the constant like there are cycles. Yes, so we catch also things from the outside, these conditionings, which are triggering certain thought about the environment, and they are triggering this particular emotions. So one information in each of us will create different thoughts and then emotion out of it. And we may perceive it a bit different way. There are some that are working for for majority, and that's what we see also on mass media. It depends on the programming, how we are conditioned. But if we are centered and like through this meditation, which totally cut off, and we get to the 0 point, then we see that I can feel it. Probably that's what you described too.
Yeah. And then there's another like observation, right? It's like sometimes when the mind is like totally at 0 point, where it's like totally still and there's no thought, what happens is like all the previous karmic imprint or like all your previous trauma that's like locked up in the nervous system starts getting unlocked, right? The mind is like trying to heal itself, so it like surfaces all those like prior like traumatic thoughts that you haven't processed, and then your mind starts going to them, right? So instead of like the it coming from your like senses, basically is like all coming from your nervous system that's all locked up, and then you start processing it, right? So now you have like the thought that was locked up, that was not processed, and then it turns into impulses and physical reactions. This is like really fascinating. So you have like in terms of like computing terms, you have RAM, or you have like long-term like memory, and then like either way the brain is like always trying to process it and trying to get back to like baseline.
Gary, can I say this real quick, Gary? I feel like so much like you. I'm like, we are human technology. We are the same as computers. We have inputs, outputs. Like, I love the way you're saying all this. I have one quick question for you. So the human being, Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, he talks that thoughts are things or nouns. So are we like the original, Bluetooth? Like, do you think we share data like unknowingly? Like we're all just kind of like shedding data and receiving and interacting?
We are. It's like one of the most magical like moments that happened was last week, right? There was this friend I haven't seen for 4 years. I met him in Kenya. His name is Rodney. And then like over the past few weeks, I got like really interested in self-sustaining like farming. Now, I was camping at this campsite at Boostman. I was thinking, that friend, he mentioned like he was somewhere in Montana. Magically, the next day when I woke up, right, I saw this text, from Rodney. Text message. Hey, Gary, how are you? I was like, what? It actually happened a few times as well. There was like this other teammate of mine that I haven't seen for many years. He went to Australia. I was in Singapore like for I think like 1 week because I was away. And I was walking around the corner, and then suddenly it occurred to me, this guy, I haven't seen him for years. And then lo and behold, two of us that haven't been back in Singapore for the longest time, no contact, whatever. So round the bend, there he is. No other signals. I think that's as pure a reading as you can get.
I wanted to ask, because we started going into the topic of AI, and also today I replied to one of the posts of Aga that I kind of feel like maybe discussing the topic of AI with our infinitely open minds, because also like we started getting into this topic that may be actually like us kind of working like computers as well and so on, and I find this topic very like really fascinating. So I just wanted to suggest if we want to maybe discuss something related to AI next Monday.
I'm not sure if next Monday, but maybe we put it on the topics list. I'm not sure if it's that crucial that we go for. We had also ownership on the list, etc. So it's up to us what we would come with next week. But definitely, it's quite it's so interesting. Like we humans becoming more like computers and trying to make computers like us, shifting the logic here. Let's not lose it. I love it too.
I have one favorite quote with regarding to AI, like, artificial intelligence has no match for human stupidity.
Actually, here's like the interesting thing, right? How do you define stupidity?
Yeah. it's like artificial, like humans is not here. Stupidity is not used as a negative term, but it's like when the human intelligence revolves right like around anything, it can innovate anything, then come out of innovation, right? So that's something particular that artificial intelligence can do. It can just do whatever you program it to do. It's again a subset of that limited thing that we have the possibility. Going to
I'm
put
I know
actually.
that worse is for me ignorance than stupidity, actually. Like stupidity
Uh-huh.
is like no judgment. People are on different ways, the paths, and maybe don't
Uh-huh.
get some things yet. So I prefer not to refer to it. But if someone is ignorant, you know it, and you do nothing, that's worse for
Uh,
me.
or like actually having the data and like doing contrary to the data.
Yeah, on contrary to what serves us all and serving only you. Or, yeah,
Sometimes
that's
people don't know how to interpret the data.
part of my inner compass too.
Yeah.
I also now have like with digging a bit more and coming back to this inner compass topic.
Yeah.
I think I also found great guidance in reading Kabbalion, for example, Emerald tablets. So like old teachings about how the universe works and how it was created and how to lead our lives, basically, how to understand it. So now I'm also considering this as my part of my inner compass because yeah, with this no judgment, for instance, I know that some people might be simply triggered and do something they don't mean or they don't know the consequences. They don't understand it yet. And I don't want to judge it. If I can maybe offer them support, that's brilliant, but they may not be also ready for receiving it or being helped. So I cannot force it to. That's a hard part. I think we cannot take over someone's consciousness, especially it can be hard regarding our children. That's what we're talking about. Like we try to control them. I don't want to do it to my child because I'm kind of taking over her consciousness. I want her to be as much as aware as possible, and then taking her own actions. Um, yeah, I think that's what I wanted to
Yeah,
add in terms of
what I
like
just thought about.
bigger picture of inner compass, how it's impact.
I just thought about because just like for example, we like by the information that we get on a daily basis, by the access to the data on one hand, yeah, it can, for example, make us more disattached from our inner compass. But just like you said, for example, Kybalion helped you to get more in touch with your inner compass, and it actually gave you, I would say, like the words here were the tools for you to become more aligned with your inner compass. So maybe here, like if we like that's again the topic, like if we are able to access, if we know how to access the right information, then maybe the language, the thoughts themselves, because we said like that the language, the thoughts, like the things that we, let's say, speak or write, right, they not necessarily reflect the inner compass, but they might be the tool for us
That's
to
a
kind of.
beautiful saying in this Kybalion, also in Emerald tablets, that if the person is ready, they will find that knowledge that's open for everyone. But you need to be ready and look for it, and you will find it.
Oh
It's
yeah, just
the
on that
words
point.
of wisdom are sealed to anyone who's not listening, something like that. Oh
I
yeah,
couldn't
Mrs.
hear it because two people were talking at the same
Sorry,
time.
I was going to say something, but I'll wait.
Oh
You
no,
can
please.
raise your hands, girls, guys, and then it will be make a bit easier to follow who is coming next. Go ahead, Charlotte.
No,
First
I
one.
was just gonna, I was just gonna say, because that links back to what Jackie was saying earlier around what if like the billions of people or whatever are all rebelling or like just speaking how they about what they want, but actually I think everything comes down to like when you are ready and you're on the right path for it, that it will happen. So especially with like Web3 technology as well, like we're in this space and we're such early adopters in this space, and it's going to take people 5-10 more years, some will like 20 years to come on board with this technology. So not everyone's going to be there at the same time. So for me, with my opening up of like my spiritual path, it's taken me now until 33 to actually like fully focus and be open and ready for everything. Even though I've tapped into it previously, it's never been the right time, and now's the right time. So I think everything happens to everybody when they're open and ready for it. That they, and also how you're saying, like some people will be interested in something but then not follow through with it and do it, and it usually is because they're not ready, like fully ready to throw themselves fully into it, and it might take them a bit longer.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same. And I love this reference to technology, because it's like adaptation process on so many levels right now, for humanity. But also being aware, or have some knowledge not to get fooled on the way. Also, what I realized, like, of course, we cannot really track every information. And then we start to rely on some expert gurus in some areas. Meanwhile, we should also follow our inner compass, because there are also a couple of tricks. Someone may talk great about particular topic, but then when they go in some other, it may not be in alignment with everything, like with themselves maybe too. Maybe they are not aware of it, or with something that it's like truly serving humanity, or there is some background agenda. It's good to know also the agenda of this ruling party, so and so on. But go ahead. I'm not sure who was first, but no, I will go with Sarah, because Sarah didn't speak yet, and I would love to hear her.
Thanks. I had to figure out how to unmute. Yeah, I just was resonating a lot with, like, when you're ready and open, it shows up. And I was listening to something recently, and it's like, we'll continue to like live the life that, like basically we hate, until we hate it enough that we're ready to change. And I think because change is so scary, and the messages out there are like, you should go to school, you should like work 60 hours a week, you should, all of these shoulds. But like some ladies that I work with, they're like, do what, like when you're in your passion, like when you are in your pleasure, like when work is pleasurable, like the things you're doing bring you pleasure. Those are the signals that we want to listen to, because that is where we are actually like creating chemicals that keep us happy and spreading like our energy, which is positive, to others. Anyways, and then like when we're ready for the messages, like I've had people, I don't know, I'm just recently very ready to open and receive like my true like soul mission. So a lot of this is very relevant, because the second like I stood up and grabbed it, all of the right people have continued to show up. Like, for example, I'm just going to say this quickly. I had a lot of work I needed to get done at my house, and I just was not sure how I was going to do it. Well, I have an Airbnb tenant now who's insisting on doing all this work for no compensation. And I'm just like, he fixed my gates yesterday. He's fixing the lights in my yard. Like all of this stuff that like I needed. And at first I was like, that's weird. And then I was like, no, fuck it. I'm open to receive, because I need this, and the universe put him here. I'm open to receive and grateful like for this. So I think it is when you're truly ready to be open, it does arrive.
Oh gosh, I'm so happy for you, darling. Oh, and I totally understand. Marta remembers that moment. I had like a, maybe let's start from the beginning. We need this dark moments in order to wake up, like truly wake up and grab things and go for it. And it's part of this also alchemical teachings there. If we didn't wake up through normal things, teachings, and so on, then we need to have something strong in there hitting us. And I also had like a darkening moment, Martha probably remembers. And then one day I just woke up, okay, I want this, this, and that to focus on. And then starting from then, there was a week that I had like constantly meeting the right people, I would say, like everything, it's like moving the right direction. I'm like, whoa, 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 what's happening? And ever since I feel like just awesome. Like I'm on the right path. So, and I'm so happy, Sarah, you feel the same, and you guys. Yeah, that's the best feeling. Like no money can buy it, really. And being with the people who are like-minded and also enjoy it, because oh gosh, that's amazing. Gary, go ahead. Sorry. I was too happy for Sarah. I had to say something.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Actually, like speaking, I think there's a different term, different way. Like they say, it, like I think I don't remember who like mentioned that. It's like when you're like ready, the teacher will come. Then I was like kind of like sharing like in the True Sight DAO as well as like this group, like this whole unsupervised like learning process, right? Back to machine learning again. And I think I was like, right now, when we kind of like venturing into like unknown territories, what's happening from my perspective, at least, is that we're doing like a manual machine learning process, like unsupervised learning, like patterns are kind of like there, maybe more the patterns like forming. You kind of like be sitting there looking at it for the longest time, and it doesn't click. And then one day, like one more additional data point to that, and then suddenly everything becomes clear. So yeah, it's like when you're ready, you see it, no? But when you're not ready, you might be staring at it in the face for a long time, but you're still not seeing it. That's what I just wanted to add.
I resonate with that.
Yeah, go ahead, Shibani.
It's just the part about like not being able to see the obvious, Gary. I like so resonate with that. And once you see the obvious, you're like, wait, how did I not see it? And there's this really interesting line that's there in like the Dune novels. It says that, dice cannot read their own dots. And I think it's so relevant here.
Yeah, true. It makes sense. And the thing is, again, it comes to like we being a human beings, we are resonating a certain frequency each and every moment in our life. Our heart is constantly emitting those electromagnetic waves, and based on whatever we are emitting, we are getting it back. Like for example, everybody in this group would definitely share something, related to what we are talking about in their own lives. Only that's the reason we are here together for such a even small or long duration, right? So based on whatever we are emitting, that's what we are getting back. Now again, there is a beautiful phenomenon in it, like for example, and universe is making note of each and everything. I'll give you an example of the poverty consciousness and based on the prosperity consciousness. Like, you're a normal person, now you see a grand luxury car, and now you feel, because you don't have that car and you feel bad about it. Oh my god, that car, that guy's having that car. The moment you know emitted those negative emotions, the universe noted it. Oh, this guy is not liking the experience of this car, the luxury of this car. Okay, let me make sure this guy don't have that. On the other hand, whenever you see anything like anything positive, that car, or somebody having that love in the life, and you emit wow, they are like you say wow about it, then the universe makes note of it. Our hearts emit a very positive like waves for it, like, and it's like, okay, let me shower him with those experiences. So that's when I tell people not to get jealousy, not to have jealousy with each other like that. This is the core meaning, because when you're emitting the lower frequencies of jealousy, hatred, greed, lust, that's what you're gonna back. And when you give out the love, gratitude, emotions, and good for others, that's what you're getting back. Thank you.
Well, I totally agree. And when I look at the car, I don't envy anything. I don't even have a driving license. Maybe that's why. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it reminds me a bit about this attachment from this physical world and the things that are here. Maybe it's a little bit related to ownership that we'll have maybe next week then.
Yeah.
I think that the best moment was to think about my death, and I'm leaving everything. And I see it more and more often. People use this trick also to help people get there. Imagine that, you are dying, you are leaving nothing. So then suddenly we see what is actually important, what kind of things I'm going to leave actually is going to stay actually with you guys, with my daughter, with my family, the memories. And I want to leave them like good ones. And I'm not taking anything else. Also, I will take some memories somewhere.
Yeah, before Gary, I like to add it. Like, I don't know where I found it, but this quote sticks to me very deep. Like, what is your biggest wealth? And that is how how you will be remembered by others when you're gone from this place. That's your biggest wealth. That's the biggest achievement you can do. Like, how will they remember you? Please, Gary, go ahead.
So actually, like talking about death, that's like a very, very interesting topic, right? Literally, that's how I got my life like the whole time. It's like the way I would see it is like when I like look at it statistically, the average man probably like dies around like 70 years old. I'm like just like crossed like 40, like I think 1-2 weeks ago. So and then like when you look at it, like the probably like the final 10 years of your life, you couldn't really do much of it. So in essence, there's probably only like 20 years of good life left. After that is like anything else is bonus. And then you like work backwards, look at it, it's like, shit, time is like really short. There's like really not much time left, right?
Yeah,
When you see this, like, every day it's going down. It's like, and then you like start thinking of like the normal like way of like thinking is like, yeah, I'll like make enough, eventually like retire, or I kind of do this and do that. I feel good, like I get all this, and then I'll retire. And then you just like realize, hey, you know what? There's like no time to retire. Like you really have to start like living whatever you really want to live like right now, right? Forget even about how people think about you after your dead. Just like really what you really strongly feel like you have to do right now.
Yeah, and probably they don't even think about you, like all the things that you are thinking that they think, and it's not worth of spending time, attention, energy on it.
Yeah. And then and actually back to like one more point about the car, right?
Mhm.
Like, and sometimes I think to myself, wow, if only I had this. But now I was like, and then after I took a step back after investigating like the actual thing, I come to this conclusion. Actually, deep down, I know I don't want this. It's like, think about this, right? You like have a very nice house, right? Very nice, comfortable. Wow. But when you look at it objectively, do you really need that much space? No, but like, okay, to pay for the house, you're stuck with a 30-year mortgage, so you're stuck to a job that you probably don't feel very passionate about. Then, like, the more you kind of like think through all this, like, I was like, yeah, I don't need this, I don't need that, I don't need this, I don't need that. And eventually what I really needed is like, hey, I just like want to have my spare time. No? Anything else is like sucking up my time, like doing stuff that I actually don't give a shit about. It's just a waste of my life.
Yeah.
It's part of the inner compass too. You think like, what I'm going to do today because tomorrow I might not be here. Is it worth of my time?
Yes.
That's the only one thing matters.
I also
Yes.
think that inner compass has, for me at least, I've been just like contemplating during the whole conversation. Do you hear me? Because I put the phone in a weird
Yeah,
place.
we can hear you. We can hear you. Yep. Nice
So,
to hear you.
to me, the inner compass at the end becomes into this surrender, right? It is saying, Yes, constantly. And maybe contemplating if I put together the death. For me, death is very important aspect of life, because I always think like, if I will die tomorrow or 10 minutes from now, how would I feel, just right before I completely away? I will feel okay. I will feel like I had done things that I don't think in terms of done or done not, it will show up. It will be like, okay, I've been present, in my life, and that will be the only thing that it really probably will be interesting, right? The relationships that I had, how I honestly or authentically or transparent I've been with the people around me. And this inner compass, again, for me, it is like, how can I surrender? What if I have no control whatsoever about life, and life is just happening to me, through me, and then it is only my inner compass is going to be if I said yes or no, how in that moment, at the level of my development, at the level of my understanding, and the level of what I am in that moment, I am responding. And for me, surrender has a beautiful quality because many times we want to control, right? And at least for me, and I'm talking always, even I say you, I'm talking about me. I think talking in first person is so important, because it's our direct experience. And yes, surrender. And I sometimes struggle with that surrender, that things are not going how I think they should be. And then I have to question why I'm thinking they should be this way. So in that constant surrender is, and allowing myself to fall into whatever it is, and to include the positive and negative, both as an information, as something that informs my state of being. That's why I don't believe too much in negative and positive. It is like, because I find negative sometimes is there as a teacher, as giving me something about myself.
Actually, I would like to add what Yolanda mentioned. I actually don't see something as negative and positive, and more like I would see, is there tension or no tension in the body? This is kind of like how I look at it nowadays. If there's kind of like tension, then like I could either choose to kind of like let it like still stay in the body, or I could like use it, because tension is technically just like pent up energy in the system, right? It's kind of like, you've ever played one of those RPG games, right? You have to fight enough, you kind of level up, and you get at the point where you kind of like execute those special moves. That's what you like use the tension energy for.
I would also not consider things like, sorry.
No, sorry. I think just about tension. I think tension is so interesting, right? Because in that tension, there's creation. It is.
Yeah.
It has this tension is where I put myself into the known and the unknown, and there's something happening in the middle that if I relax and I fall into it, it has a lot of power.
Yes, and when I like look at back at like True Sight Tao, it's been evolved. Like it actually went through quite a few evolution, right? Every time, like when tension starts building up, like in the Tao, kind of like observe, I just like let it build, right? And then eventually, like what's happening, like people like start coming to me, like giving me inputs about like various aspects of that tension. I'll just like sit there and like kind of still kind of like experience the tension and let it build. But eventually there will be coming a threshold where it's like, the actual decision becomes clear of what to do next. And then when you like act upon that, everything's aligned. You don't even need consensus, because it just becomes super apparent. Like once like the tension like goes up to a certain threshold, it's like there's enough like energy for the next evolution to happen. And that's like kind of like part and parcel. This is what I observed.
Yeah, and I think that tension also, to me, the beauty of it, that I feel so uncomfortable with it too. Like I think right now, for instance, today. No, I'm not going to put today or anything. Today, when I feel the resistance, like I trust life. as a general thing. It has this fluctuation. Like in this fluctuation has to do with my fears, or has to do with my doubts, or has to be with many things. It is precisely in that tension where the Tao takes you from the very beginning of the Tao, right? That is like it is in darkness where mystery and creativity comes from, right? And that's
Subliminal.
the point that Aga talks about as well. That is not a zero point of even putting the mind with no thoughts, because I think that the quality of the mind is to generate thoughts. Is to, when you have a problem, will go and look for how to fix that. Yet that fixing comes always from the past. It is never there's no innovation in there, right? It's the interaction of one thought to another thought that is going to fix that. So, but what is underneath? Underneath that is that mystery. Underneath is where that 0 point is, that we don't know how the answer is going to come. And that tension for me, it is like, okay, I am resisting this. Yes, I have a resistance. How can I fall into that resistance and that acknowledging that I'm scared, and acknowledging that I'm doubtful, acknowledging that I don't have, and
Allow.
Yeah.
Allow, trust the process, everything's gonna be fine.
It's
It
hard.
reminds me of this laws that are in Kabbalah that I referred to too. Like there are cycles in our lives. We will always go up and down, up and down, up and down. Because we are in the constant process of improvement, then also it's good going a bit higher, yes. But also it's like waves up and down. So and it is downs going there now consciously. I'm like, I allow. It's okay. I have a hard moment, darker moment. Like I just go and reflect on it. And then it's like this creative energy. And it's also in the alchemical teachings. Like the creative energy is actually born in this negative, in the sense of like when we put it on the line that is below. That's when this creative energy it's exploding.
Yeah.
It's a female energy, by the way, too.
and there's fear. Right, there's a fear because the moment that you go to that moment of 0 point, that moment that there's nothing, there's literally nothing. So it's not only that you need to drop, and I think it's reflected in every aspect of our lives. You need to drop what is safe according to you in that moment, right? And sometimes that's safe is a house. Sometimes that's safe is a job. Sometimes that's safe is a group of friends. Sometimes that's safe it is our constructions, right? The way that we have constructed our lives. And that is fucking scary because you have no ground underneath. And to
actually, I got like in love with this feeling. Like for a couple of years, I'm practicing ever since I just came here with nothing and just with credit in Poland. I just moved to foreign country and dropped everything, no job, etc. And like, oh gosh, that was the best decision. Like, turned my mindset so much upside down, and so many great things started to happen afterwards. So it's like, oh, I want to more. It's like I don't know what's coming, but it's gonna be cool. Like some other miracle, other experience, person to meet, like open, like I started to open myself more to different experiences. And it feels like I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back to like routine and knowing what's gonna happen, this safe solutions, and nobody's gonna convince me that it was better.
Into trust in something that it has no physicality, right? That you cannot even name because you cannot name it. Trusting that is you're in love of something never gonna it is like how can you be in love with something that you cannot name? I don't know. This is the result, the way I'm talking, a result of being like Gary today, like being 45 minutes into a deep meditation before we start our conversation. That's why I could not talk, in any way until now.
You know what you just mentioned, Yolanda, reminds me of verse 1 of Tao Te Ching. Like the way is the constant way, but not the way is the way, but not the constant way. The name that is nameable is not the constant name. And actually, like what Ega mentioned, like to me, like just now, like really reminds me of this metaphor I used to use all the time. It's like you kind of like go to the edge of the cliff, you look down at the edge, and there's the abyss. People always ask me, Gary, how do you do all what you do all the time? I say, it's this metaphor, right? You go to the edge of this cliff, you look down into the abyss, you don't know what's there in the abyss, you cross yourself and you jump.
Yeah.
And then the funny thing is, at some point, you will land on like some cliff again, some place that you start knowing, and then like, oh, do you want to stay there? Or do you want to walk to the edge of that cliff and look down into the abyss again and jump?
I thought that the funny thing that you will say that I'm afraid of heights. The funny part is I'm afraid of heights, but I'm jumping.
Yeah, you might be afraid of heights. It's like, I'm afraid of heights. I jumped off the plane before. It's like scary, but I just jumped.
Hey, darling. Great to see you. I love to like go with the laughing. Darling, you want to say something, Sarah? I said darling, but
I just love it. Like, Aga, you know that I've been seriously considering leaving countries, and I'm like, in that I'm like, I think, like, I'm committed to Oregon until March, but only one day a week. I only have to be here, or one day a month, every month until March, and I'm like, maybe I just go now, like.
Right.
That's what I did. I mean, in 2 weeks I was packed and in another country, and I left my job and was crazy.
Yeah.
Sarah, just want you to know I will be passing through probably sometime this week.
So wait for Gary.
No, I am here and available for coffee or kombucha.
Great.
Or axe throwing.
Wait, do you have like?
Don't share the address because it's recorded, please.
What?
Oh yeah, let's like take this offline. I'll like talk with you separately after this.
Yeah, I'm saying don't share the address, otherwise you will have a big party there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, guys, so we are closing it. Oh my God, again, like 2 hours. I'm so happy how time flies with you guys. Enjoy so much. We can laugh at the end. That's usually just give positive vibes for the next hours of this day and the week. So closing with the laughter.
Like this is a spiritual teacher that I love. His name is Papaji. He said that when you there's no mind, there's nothing, when you laugh, you're so present that's the beauty of laughing. There's no mind, there's no problems, there's nothing, there's just laughter.
Yeah, actually the great lessons for our today's topic of inner compass. You'll just laugh and release. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Pleasure.
Bye.